So, I mean, we've talked about the technology, we've talked about the go-to-market. So now, just wrapping this all together, like, if you had like 3 pieces of advice for an entrepreneur starting an AI company, what would they be?
I think one thing that's always good is like, look where the spotlight isn't yet. Like now everybody's talking about AI. It's a hot space. Everybody wants to invest in AI. And there's still lots of great companies to be started. But I think if you're like starting to start a foundational model company, number 125, maybe that train has already left the platform, and maybe you need to look at other things that are interesting. Right now in AI, I'm very interested in companies that just use AI on the back end to fulfill some other business need much faster. For example, speaking to a company who figured out a way to make manga animes, like kind of cartoons. And what they figured out was that this is an industry that's dominated by very few companies in Japan, because it's a super specific skill to actually be able to draw this kind of manga, right? And it's a massive business, like Naruto, which is the biggest business in manga, I think does like $12 billion of revenue every single year. What they figured out was that if we can train an AI system to just help us make these drawings and tell the stories, still, human storytellers, but just on the back end actually making the images that makes up this cartoon, that could be pretty huge. And they did that, and they've now launched, I think, 3 or 4 different types of new IP, and one of them is going really, really well. I think it's a great example of like, you don't have to tell anyone you're an AI company, right? They're just taking the technology and exploiting it to do something you couldn't do before. So that'd be my one thing. And then I think my second thing would be, if you're building an AI product, the kind of first thought idea is rarely the good ones to go for. So like when ChatGPT came out, right, everyone's like, I'm going to build a company that does customer service via an LLM, for example. It's like the most obvious idea for most business people as soon as they try ChatGPT, right? What if you could just chat with a customer support agent like this? And it is probably a good idea. Like there's just a bunch of incumbents who already have the entire platform that sits around delivering customer service via like a chat interface, and they're going to do this as well, right? Especially with this type of technology that's really easy to work with. So try and look for areas that is much less obvious. And I often think a good way of thinking of this is like, what would be really hard for an incumbent to just build as a feature in like 3 or 6 months? And that often is very much around building products that weren't really possible to do before, right? A loom, for example, is a tool that a human being can use to like cut down things. The human being could have cut down things without a loom also. The loom just makes it faster and much easier to do, right? Whereas something like a crane is like a fundamentally new thing, right? No one human could ever lift a concrete pillar and build a skyscraper by itself, right? That provides fundamentally like something new that a human can do. I think that's a good framework for thinking about AI products. It needs to be kind of built AI first, not just an existing problem with a little bit of AI on top.